say either. I say.
Kojo, how was your weekend?
Frustrating.
Oh, how come?
Well, I had problems with my new camera. I followed the instructions to the letter, but it just wouldn't work.
I'm so sorry about that. But I noticed you said to the letter and not to the latter.
Yes, that's the correct expression. Doing things to the letter is an expression often used in reference to following instructions. It means carrying them out with great attention to the minutest detail.
Well, that's right. And since instructions are usually made up of sentences and words, the minutest detail would be the letter.
On a certain level as well, I'm not sure it's unexpected. I think if you read the history of Afghanistan, and it's a very complex history, I can't pretend to have read all of it or most of it. And if you listen to the stories in Afghanistan from the ordinary people, the Taliban were always very clear. They said the Americans had the watch and they had the time.
Okay.
So they knew it was going to be a long, drawn-out war, but they were ready. They said they had the time. The Americans had the watch. In other words, they knew that at some point they would get tired and they would leave. They were in for the long haul, and they've been proved right. On a certain level as well, I'm not sure it's unexpected. I think if you read the history of Afghanistan, and it's a very complex history, I can't pretend to have read all of it or most of it. And if you listen to the stories in Afghanistan from the ordinary people, the Taliban were always very clear. They said the Americans had the watch and they had the time.
Okay.
So they knew it was going to be a long, drawn-out war, but they were ready. They said they had the time. The Americans had the watch. In other words, they knew that at some point they would get tired and they would leave. They were in for the long haul, and they've been proved right. On a certain level as well, I'm not sure it's unexpected. I think if you read the history of Afghanistan, and it's a very complex history, I can't pretend to have read all of it or most of it. And if you listen to the stories in Afghanistan from the ordinary people, the Taliban...
Fertilizers, expired cocoa bud. I mean, you know what Dr. Punis called for, right?
Yes.
Fertilizer related, right?
Exactly.
I hope we deal with this matter in a more decisive way. Now, 1.9 million spent at buffer stock without senior finance officers' approvals. So the National Food Buffer Stock, it's not a joke. 1.9 million of our cash was spent at the buffer stock without the CEO, the guy in charge of the place, and his senior finance officer's approval. That is also what...
So how did that happen?
So apparently, some young officers took it upon themselves in various capacities without having the approval of the big boss and the people who are expected by law to be approving some of these deals, going through it and approving it. So they, on their own, in fact, if they were so moto, decided to proceed with such works. I mean, you see, we all know that the Auditor General's report is replete always with things that will make you lose interest in being a Ghanaian.
Exactly.
My problem is that in times past, we're doing audit report implementation committees and all of that. Those things never went anywhere until Domilevo decided to surcharge the people and give us hope that there's raw work.
We have to get back to that.
Accepted on their work. But what can we do? Now,
Anyway.
Okay, yeah, yes.
Let's get to the daily graphic. Dagbon celebrates the Bugum festival.
Yeah.
That's the fire festival. And I like this photograph, look at them, holding all of that. Cocoa production hits record high yields, 1,033,000 tons, and we have 6 more weeks to go. So it means that we could probably get more. I mean, the previous record was 1,024,000 tons. Shutdown of public universities averted, NLC, UTAG, and legal tussle. And kissing priest pleads for forgiveness.
Now, the Daily Guide is reporting this morning, Kufuor pardons Alote Jacobs over vile lies. That's on the front page of the Daily Guide. And you see, if you see the picture, it's the two men sharing wine. But the former president is drinking, is it Nederberg also? But Aloteji Cup is drinking, it looks like a more expensive one. The dirty one, have you seen it before? I mean, you rich people like those ones. I see it in the shop, I cannot afford it though. But it looks like Aloteji Cup has left the masses, clearly. The kind of things he's now drinking. He's not within their territory at all.
Really?
There's nothing socialist about this consumption. Anyway, but Kofo says he's pardoned him. And he went to him because apparently he said he had peddled lies in times past on this matter, but well, that's yet to be done. Now, there's one more point you should know. 9.2 million street lights contract awarded before approval. That is also in the daily guide this morning. They want to frustrate people with the monetary imports. So from the actions at the Cocoa Board through to what's happened at Buffer Stock, we now know that 9.2 million street lights, according to this report, was awarded a contract before the approval from the appropriate sources. John Boadu charges on backbend. That's also on the front page there. Now, you want me to bring you this story? It's a very big story on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. Demand for better conditions of service. President says, don't disrupt academic work. This is the president asking UTAC and the people involved in this particular negotiation. The president said he welcomes the decision of the suspension, but to him, well, they cannot do so. And court orders UTAC and NLC to go back to the negotiation table. It's also on the front page of the paper by the Ghanaian Times. I want clarity on this matter. So we are telling that some suspension has happened. Does it mean that the rank and file, which the Utah Constitution mostly asks for mandating to ratify the decision within like 5 days?
Well, he's urging. I mean, they say they're going back to negotiate for a month.
Yes.
And so they've suspended the strike. And if after a month they do not get what they want, they would go back.
So, but this suspension, the Constitution of Utah says should last within 5 days until ratified by the members of the union. Are they going to do so now? When are they going to do that?
Let me. I mean, you've asked very important questions.
Yeah.
It's important we get some clarification from some executives of UTAG because the president says don't disrupt academic work, and he's urging UTAG and stakeholders. We're privileged to be joined by Professor Ransford Jampo. He's the General Secretary of UTAG University of Ghana. Professor Jampo, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, good morning. The General Secretary-elect.
Sorry.
Yes.
So the president says, don't disrupt academic work, and he's urging you, that's UTAG, and your stakeholders. What you make of the president's statement to you that you shouldn't do anything to disrupt academic work?
Well, we are not interested in doing things that would undermine the interest of our students. And by extension, no lecturer is interested in doing anything that will disrupt the academic calendar of any university. And so, generally, that is our position. Sometimes circumstances may push us into, taking decisions to embark on strike that may lead to such disruption. But generally, we are not interested. We are teachers. And what makes us happy is being able to fulfill our calling, being able to teach, being able to examine, being able to see students pass the exam. So, well, it's a call in the right direction, but just to make the point that we are not even interested in disrupting academic calendar. And if there are such calls, they're coming from the number one citizen of the land. We would also expect that such calls are backed with overages and genuine, sincere actions that would ensure that whatever pushes lecturers to threaten to disrupt academic calendars are also addressed or nipped in the bud.
So in effect, you're telling the president, well, we're not interested in disrupting academic calendar. And since you're talking about stakeholders also, your government is part of the stakeholders. Just make sure the right things are done.
Exactly.
Now, per your constitution, you're supposed to, get back to your members. Per the UTAG Constitution, within 5 working days, something that UTAG is working on to ensure.
No, you see, talk to me as an ordinary UTAG member. I've not yet taken office, and so I'm also a member.
Are you expecting your leadership to have that forum for the ratification of the decision?
The University of Ghana, for instance, is having a meeting at 9 a.m. I know other branches of UTAG are also holding meetings. And as you've rightly observed, our constitution says NEC can suspend any industrial action. But after suspending, they must revert to the members who would have the right to vote to approve of the decision for which the suspension was made by NEC, or to reject it. Once they approve of the agreement that led to the suspension, and the strike action automatically suspended or called off. But once they reject, NEC must meet and fashion out another date for the resumption of the industrial action. And so the Constitution makes clear provision and gives the ultimate decision as to whether to suspend or to continue the strike. No, the ultimate power to reject or to accept whatever decisions that NEC has made by way of suspending the strike. It places it in the hands of the members. And so the various meetings that are going to be held, I'm sure today, will determine what the way forward should be.
And talking about the way forward, when you speak to some of your colleagues, what's the feeling on the ground?
Well, you're a journalist. You should come and interview them.
It's part of the interview process. Yes.
And it's been heated argument exchanges, and honestly, people are not happy, and it will take a lot of effort to calm them down, and to also let them accept the fact that regardless of our concerns, we must negotiate. I mean, people are angry, and it is, of course, they are right. They are legitimate in expressing the anger that are being expressed now. But at some point in time, leadership must do well in convincing them that we cannot be angry in perpetuity. At one point in time, if there are genuinely credible and sincere negotiation platforms created, then we may have to cut the anger and make use of the platform to see whether our concerns will be addressed. Because at the end of the day, what are we looking for? We are looking for solutions to problems that we have articulated. We are looking for solutions for the problems that led us into going on strike. And so if there's going to be a sincere, genuine, and credible negotiating platform, I'm not talking about the one that is led by the National Labour Commission, that is always biased. But if you have a credible platform that would ensure that there is
Labour Commission's platform as credible
candid dialogue, then we would have to make use of that platform.
Professor Ransford Jampo, thank you very, very much for joining us.
It is my pleasure.
Right, so that's the General Secretary of UTAG, University of Ghana campus elect, Professor Ransford Jampo, joining us. And Raymond, he's made the point that they're not interested in disrupting the academic calendar, but what is due them should be given to them. And so if the president is talking about the fact that they shouldn't disrupt the academic calendar, he should tell also those taxed to negotiate with them and ensure that they have better conditions of service to do so.
I'm looking forward to the time that we pay our teachers like the way Finland pays its teachers. Prioritize one of the best because they are teaching and training our future generation. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon anyway.
No, it doesn't look like that. And for those of us who have even taught at the universities before, we can tell you it doesn't. It is not a very lucrative.
We are going to
profession.
lose critical human resources into other sectors because we are not prioritizing the most important things. the future of the country will depend on its human resource, not its natural resource. And we know this for a very long time. But while we are still bent on not treating the best of our human resource in the best of ways that we can, it's baffling. Sometimes, and you see, let's be fair, sometimes the qualification of those in politics, they come nowhere near those who are teaching in some of our universities. And yet, I mean, the largest are on the side of those in politics. We have invented the system in such a way that, it takes very little to get so much in this country.
And talking about taking very little to get so much in this country, I mean, you've hit the nail right on the head. Because look, even when it comes to research allowance, there has to be strike actions before research allowances are paid. And people are supposed to conduct research that would go a long way into enhancing our development as a country.
There's something critically happening that we need to resolve. The UK's ODA, Overseas Development Assistance, almost £120 million £120 million has been taken off the support that's supposed to be given teachers and research across our north. We are pretending we don't know. Ghana has not told us they're going to fill in and replace the money. So critical research is either being curtailed or not happening at all. Critical research sponsored by people elsewhere.
Well, we'll come back to this, but time now for the BBC News brought to us by Fidelity Bank, Believe With Us, and Sefi Brothers.
This is a bank, First Atlantic Bank.
Very clear. They said the Americans had the watch and they had the time.
Okay.
So they knew it was going to be a long, drawn-out war, but they were ready. They said they had the time. The Americans had the watch. In other words, they knew that at some point they would get tired and they would leave. They were in for the long haul, and they've been proved right. On a certain level as well, I'm not sure it's unexpected. I think if you read the history of Afghanistan, and it's a very complex history. I can't pretend to have read all of it or most of it. And if you listen to the stories in Afghanistan from the ordinary people, the Taliban were always very clear. They said the Americans had the watch and they had the time.
Okay.
So they knew it was going to be a long, drawn-out war,